How we doing, folks? Your hosts here on the Pitt Panthers Football Network as we welcome you to our playoff preview series as we take a look at the Orange Bowl and the AT&T Cotton Bowl, the two matchups that will be the college football playoff semifinals before the college football playoff national championship game a week following that. And in these two matchups, the Orange Bowl will feature number 4 seeded Pittsburgh, your Pitt Panthers, taking on number 1 seeded and undefeated Washington. The Cotton Bowl will feature undefeated and number 2 seeded LSU versus undefeated and number 3 seeded Oklahoma, the champions of the SEC versus the champions of the Big 12. And the Orange Bowl, like we mentioned, is the champions of the ACC Pitt versus the champions of the Pac-12 in Washington. So we're going to take a look at those two matchups here today, give you a quick preview of them before we have our coverage of the Orange Bowl here on the Pitt Panthers Football Network. So looking at the Orange Bowl, your Pitt Panthers, they are going to have a very tough opponent at hand in Washington. The Huskies have been arguably the best team in college football all season. Of course, that's why they have the number 1 designation. But by all metrics, you could argue they're number 1. They have the number 1 ranked total offense in the country, number 3 ranked scoring offense in the country, number 2 ranked total defense in the country. Really, the only thing that they haven't excelled at completely is taking the ball away. They have a +2 turnover differential, which is in the top half of the country, same as the Panthers. But other than that, they have been flawless. Pitt, as you know, has the number 15 ranked total offense in the country, buoyed by their number 5 rushing offense, which has been spectacular. They've been average in the passing game, about 180 yards a game, which is, below average nationally, but gets the job done as much as they need to. Number 17 scoring offense in the country as well for the Panthers. They do have a stellar rush defense, number 1 in the country in terms of yardage, versus their pass defense, which is down near the bottom of the country, though it has improved in recent weeks. So we'll see how the Panthers can turn things around against a Washington offense that's been so stellar. But the Panthers team defense as a whole has really improved over recent years, and that's why they've done so well this season. If we look at Washington so far this year, of course, they were incredible the first 4 matchups of the season. Blew out SMU, who's a quality opponent, and knocked off 3 struggling schools in Boise, Oregon State, and Hawaii. Didn't give up more than 7 points in any of those matchups. They then hit the heart of their Pac-12 schedule. They knocked off USC, who of course had a very down year at 0-12. Escaped Cal as well in single-digit games, but then they turned the blowouts back on. Blew out Arizona State. Destroyed Stanford, one of their big ranked opponents this season. Just blew them out of the water away from home. Outlasted Arizona in a tight affair. Easy victory over then ranked Colorado. Blew out Washington State and took care of business in the Pac-12 championship game against UCLA, very easily. 42-21 victory over a team that was unbeaten at that time. So Washington's been very good. For your Panthers, it's been a strong road for them as well. One slip up at home in a primetime matchup against Lamar Jackson, the Heisman winner, in Louisville, but otherwise they've got victories against a ton of ranked opponents. Beat Penn State in overtime early on in the season. A solid UCF team out of conference as well. 8-4 Virginia Tech, they blew out of the water. Number 1 at that time, Notre Dame, they gave them their only loss of the season, keeping out of the college football playoff, and the Panthers very convincing victory. Knocked off 500 Georgia Tech, blew out Duke, blew out UNC. Comeback victory away from home, and then just a dominant performance that sealed their bid into the college football playoff with a victory over. 500 yards passing, 38 touchdowns against 9 interceptions. Myles Gaskin rushing the football has been very, very good. He's been their primary attack man rushing the ball. They don't really have anybody else that offers a ton of yardage running the ball, but receiving has been incredible. Pounds is their leading yardage guy, but they do have McClatcher I believe his name is. That's their leading receiver in terms of catches, is with 63, I want to say. And they actually have 6 different receivers, including Myles Gaskin, that have 30 or more catches, including 2 tight ends. They're very, very strong at the tight end position. And just offensively, they're just very, very good. We'll take a look at their depth chart here shortly. Kenny Pickett, of course, has led the Panthers from the quarterback position. 17 touchdowns against 9 interceptions. He's been solid, protected the ball well. He's shown some propensity to run the football as needed as well. Had a rushing touch in the Panthers' victory over Clemson in the ACC championship game. Darren Hall is actually the Panthers' leading rusher at 1271. Quadri Olson just behind with nearly 1,200 yards. He does have a couple more yards per game, actually, because of the fact that he missed the game due to injury. So Olson will be the feature back for the Panthers. Hall is out for the rest of the season with a neck injury, so that will hold him out for the rest of the season, unfortunately, for the Panthers, and Olson will be forced to carry the load. Leading receiver for the Panthers, Maurice French. The big thing to look at there is Sean Wolfgang. 15 sacks on the season, led the nation. If he can have a big day rushing the passer, then maybe they can disrupt something about that Washington offensive attack. We'll take a look now at Washington's depth chart, their roster, and take a look and just kind of describe to you the Washington team that the Panthers will end up taking on here, and just the quality that they have across the board. You can see the Panthers, if you take a look, only 690 overall or better. Washington, I think they have 9 or 10 guys 90 overall or better. 299s in their backfield, which is incredible. Gaskin has very good speed. Browning is just solid for a passer. What's incredible to me is Tony Rodriguez, 93 overall, and he's the backup. He barely plays. Look at that. He's got like 117 career pass attempts, and he just never gets to play because Jake Browning has been the starter for the last 4 seasons, actually. I think he was a freshman starter before this dynasty even would have began. So he's just been fantastic for him. You can see how well he protects the ball. Never had double-digit interceptions. Just been a fantastic quarterback for the Huskies. And they have Carta Samuels, redshirt senior, 89 overall as well. So they're really going to be reliant on Casey Pearson next year. This is Washington's year that they have to potentially pull in a national championship because of the talent that they have. 2 senior running backs as well. Myles Gaskin, of course, we know about. Look at his ability. He has 224 rushes for 1,564 yards. He's also a threat receiving the ball. 37 catches, 519 yards, and a pair of touchdowns there. Jamon Dotson, only 41 rushing attempts. You can see he's missed a lot of the season due to injury. 67 yards per game when he was healthy. So he's someone that the Panthers will have to contend with because he will be healthy for this game. So a couple good players there for Washington. Receiving-wise, McClatcher is their leading receiver with 63 catches, but he's more a possession guy, while Pounds is the deep threat. Even though McClatcher does have more speed, Pounds, though, has been going for 19 yards a catch. He's been very good. Baselia has got 30 catches as well. He's been very good. But beyond that, they don't really use any more receivers. You can see 1 catch for Young. Lenius has 2 catches. They really get their tight ends involved. Drew Sample, 89 overall senior, 44 catches on the year for him. He's incredibly reliable, fantastic pass catcher. And the real kind of guy out of the mix is a true sophomore, Eric Holland, sophomore, out of Parkway, California. He's 84 overall RA, 85 speed, and he has 30 catches as their number 2 tight end. So he's been very good, and somebody that the Panthers are going to have a lot of trouble trying to contain. Now, blocking for these guys are going to be a very solid, if unspectacular, offensive line. Trey Adams, 88 overall. Sosa B is 90 overall. Turner's 88 overall. Roberts, 86 overall. And McGarry, 89 overall. So very, very good, but not insurmountable necessarily. You looked at Clemson's offensive line in the Panthers' last matchup. They probably would trounce Washington if you looked at ratings and ability, and the Panthers really owned them and held Clemson to like 156 total yards or something of that nature. So it's not out of the realm of possibility for the Panthers to have a great day against this attack. Vita Vea, senior left end for the Huskies, is out due to injury. He's out for the season. So Benning Patoe will be the starter at that position. Very quick guy, still has a lot of ability, so the Panthers won't see much of a drop-off there. At right end, Jalen Johnson, he does lead the Huskies in sacks with 9. Very solid player is the redshirt senior. They've also got Greg Gaines plugging up the middle, 95 overall, fantastic player, along with Ricky McCoy. Should be tough for the Panthers offensive line to contend with. Linebacker Washington is solid. Okay, they're not spectacular. Camilo Eifler is 87 overall, good player, good speed. Brandon Wellington and DJ Beavers in the middle, mid-80s, solid players, but nothing too overwhelming. And then Ben Burr-Kirven, very good player, but same thing, he's only 84 overall, has a lot of speed, which will be good for him to contend against the guys the Panthers like to throw across the middle, a lot of those slot receivers that he may be covering. Good player, but not overly spectacular. Cornerback, very, very solid again, but nothing superstarish. Austin Joyner, 89 overall. Jordan Miller, 88 overall. Brandon Lewis, 86 overall. Byron Murphy, 86 overall. A lot of speed from him. He's one to watch. Real solid player there. So a lot of depth, but a lot of mid-80s talent as far as that's concerned. Free safety, Taylor Rapp, 82 overall. Good player, but not a superstar. JoJo McIntosh is a superstar, though. 91 overall, strong safety, very good player. So you look at this Washington team, they have no real weaknesses. I think every position, their starter, the linebackers maybe were a little low, but pretty much every other position, 86, 88, 89, 90 at least in terms of the starters. The kicking game is an area where maybe they'll struggle, but it's going to be a tough day for the Panthers, and they're going to have to play pretty much a perfect game if they want to come away with a victory, because like we mentioned, Washington, they just don't have any real weaknesses, so that'll be a tough one to contend with. So that's the Panthers matchup. Let us know in the comments how you think that's going to go. You can see, like I mentioned on the injury report, the Panthers will be missing Darren Hall. He's out for the season, while Washington will be missing Vita Vea with a broken elbow, out for the season as well. If we take a look at the other matchup, we'll do the injury report before we go to the matchup just to look at it. It is Oklahoma versus LSU. We'll get a quick look just to see if Oklahoma or LSU are missing anybody of real importance. Oklahoma, no injuries. They're fresh and ready to go. LSU, of course, led by an incredible rushing attack of Darius Guice. They are missing Dante Jackson, partially torn ACL, starting cornerback, 94 overall. That's a big loss, especially against Kyler Murray, who we know is an incredible passing quarterback and can create so many different things with his ability to move around in the pocket, as well as Will Clapp, but he is probable and is expected to play their starting left guard. So if we take a look at that matchup between the Tigers and the Sooners, that's going to be a real contrast in styles, you have to say. Kind of similar to the Panthers versus Washington. Washington can really attack you any way offensively, while the Panthers are rushing based. LSU, very rushing based, while Oklahoma can attack you a multitude of ways. If you look at their attack, number 11 rush offense in the country, number 12 pass offense in the country, number 3 total offense, number 1 points per game offense, which is just shows you their dominance on that side of the ball. Number 8 total defense, which is actually very impressive in a conference that's not typically known for great defense, the Big 12. Oklahoma was very, very good this year. Now, LSU, they love to ground and pound you. Number 9 offense or defense in the country, because they do keep the ball away from the opposing team so well, and they take the ball away. +8 turnover differential, one of the best in the country, while Oklahoma, surprisingly, -5 turnover differential, one of the worst in the country. So that could be the real tipping point in this game, is if Oklahoma can't hold on to the football. LSU, they're going to try and play keep away. Number 2 rush offense in the nation. And so if LSU and Pitt were to win, for example, it could be a real slugfest in the national championship game, as far as just rushing at ground and pound attacks going against each other. But if we look at LSU, they've been very good all season. Didn't have the toughest schedule to start off, but when things got hairy late on, they were very, very impressive. Easy victory away at Alabama in Tuscaloosa, handled Auburn at home, and then they knocked off Tennessee in the SEC championship game in a very convincing fashion. Oklahoma, a lot of close victories here in the middle here. 4 points, 3 points, 4 points, 7 points, 7 points. So they squeaked a few out, but then they started turning things on as the season went along. Blowout against West Virginia, Texas Tech, TCU, they had a real barn burner showdown with 42-13 over Baylor, and then an easy victory over Oklahoma State to wrap things up. So they've been in cruise control and doing a nice job. LSU, the two teams, Amar Smith, actually a transfer LSU, Louisiana State, and he's been very good. 23 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, only averages like 80 yards a game, which has been very impressive per game on the ground. Finished, I think, second in the Heisman voting. Very strong season for him. And they have Nick Brossette as a running back as well. So 3 different rushing players that they've used to very strong rushing attack. They complement each other, and they've just done a nice job at when one of them is tired, the other one comes in and pounds the opposition into submission. For Oklahoma, they're a bit fancier. You know, they run a great offense. Kyler Murray, of course, 3,000 yards passing, 32 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. He also ran for, I want to say it was 9 touchdowns on the season, so I think he has 41 total touchdowns. And like 3,800 yards. He's close to 1,000 yards rushing as well. He's been very, very good. Joe Mixon, Anderson as well, 2 very good runners for Oklahoma who can do a great job. And they've had a ton of different receivers who can get the ball out and into space and can make a ton of different plays. So they have a lot of weapons. It's going to be a fun game. I think depending on when I can get these games played, of course, the Pitt game, I'll edit up, get the nice commentary over it for you, but I may try streaming the Oklahoma LSU game if it is feasible to do in a timely manner. I'll be getting the Pitt game played, hopefully actually, you know, while this video is released, and getting that edited up during Memorial Day weekend because I will be out of town, just to give you guys a heads up. But potentially either before Memorial Day weekend if I get the time, or like I said, because I'm going out of town, maybe when I get back from Memorial Day weekend, we'll have an opportunity to potentially stream the Oklahoma LSU game. The Pitt-Washington game, though, will be played, and you will get the dramatic presentation for that on the Pitt Panthers Football Network. So in the comments, guys, let me know who you think's going to win. Pitt versus Washington, what'll be the final score? Oklahoma versus LSU, what'll be the final score? Who's going to be the national championship matchup? As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Hail to Pitt! And we'll see you on the Pitt Panthers Football Network when your Pitt Panthers take on the Washington Huskies for the right to play in the college football national championship game. Hail to Pitt, guys. We'll see you soon. Take care.